welcome to another edition of Between Two Owls. I'm your host, Tom Price, and with us today is Dr. Matt Helmus from the Biology Department. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tom.
So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Arkansas, but I was born in Chicago. And so I have this mix between knowing a really large, huge city and then also growing up way in the countryside. And so I grew up about 2 miles down a dirt road in about a 15-acre area forest. We didn't have running water when we first moved there. I lived in a tent for a bit, used an outhouse. But then all of my family, all my relatives, extended relatives, my immediate family is Arkansas. My extended relatives are in Chicago, and so I go to Chicago every summer over Christmas break, that sort of thing, and get to interact with people in cities.
Cool. And so, how did you get interested in biology? Is that something you've been interested in all your life, or you had a teacher, or you learned about something, or?
Yeah, I guess I've always been interested in it, but I didn't know that I was always interested in it. And so I told you that, I grew up out in the woods. There are creeks. I'd find things. I'd catch things. I catch tarantulas. I catch lizards. I make little dams in creeks and go out fishing with my father and that sort of thing. And so I'd always interacted with nature quite a bit. But then I went to college and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so then I started exploring what it is that I wanted to do. And the first thing I thought was, well, then maybe I'll do business, and that was not for me. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll do computer science. And so then I took a few classes in computer science, and I liked it, but I didn't like sitting in front of a computer. I wanted to do something that was a bit more hands-on. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll be a doctor. And so then I took a biology class. It's like, oh, biology is great. I'm starting to get it. This is awesome. And then the next class I took was an ecology class. And that's when I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Because I was like, oh, okay, so you can actually do science. You can make a career. You can have a really good life. And go outside and trying to figure out the way that nature works and try to help people, live with their environment. And that's what really drew me into being an ecologist then.
Cool. And where did you do your undergraduate work?
At the University of Central Arkansas. And I did, I did a semester abroad, semester at sea. So I went around the world on a ship. And then I did a long summer in Nicaragua and Costa Rica, where I did tropical herpetology. And so I really got a lot of field research experience all as an undergrad. And then I did an undergraduate project on monarch butterflies and how they feed on milkweeds. And I did an undergraduate project on that, which then I was able to publish, and that's kind of what helped me get into graduate school. So I did a lot of undergraduate research then after I did my semesters abroad.
Cool. And where did you go for your doctorate?
I went to the University of Wisconsin.
And why did you choose that institution?
I had a few different options. I gelled with the advisor. That's really the most important thing. There's two important things, I think, and this is from my perspective. Every professor will have a different perspective on this, but thinking about what you're going to do next, you want to sort of do something that you think you can do for a long period of time, right? Or at least an intermediate period of time. And then you want to be able to gel with the people who you're going to work with. And so for graduate school, it's your advisor. You want to be able to talk to him or her. You want to be able to, really figure out how you are as a person being a graduate student, but then also that advisor is helping to, give you the environment that allows you to develop as a scientist and develop as a person. And then you want to be able to be in a good environment there too. And Wisconsin just gave me that.
Awesome. And so how did you end up at Temple University?
That's a longer story. So I got my PhD at the University of Wisconsin. I then spent 4 years off and on in subtropical China in Sichuanbana. It's a Chinese Academy of Sciences botanical garden that I worked in. My my partner at the time, Jocelyn Bem, who's also a professor here at Temple University, she was finishing and doing her dissertation in China, and so I got a postdoc working in China. Then when she came back to the United States and went back to Wisconsin, I got a postdoc at the University of Chicago, which is pretty close to the University of Wisconsin. And so then we kind of did a little bit of commuting back and forth. After she graduated, then we went to Europe and we did postdocs in Amsterdam, both of us did. And then after that point, we got a grant from the Dutch government that allowed us to do research in the Caribbean, but we decided not to live in the Netherlands anymore. And Jocelyn is from the Philadelphia region. She went to Drexel actually, and she grew up in Phoenixville. And so we decided to come back here to Philadelphia with this grant, and we came back here and we found out about the biology department at Temple. There's Blair Hedges, who's a really good Caribbean herpetologist, and lots of other great people at Temple. So we started talking with them, and eventually there was a job opening, and we applied for it. And the rest is history.
Awesome. And so what do you like most about your job at Temple?
I really like interacting with our lab and mentoring students. Professors have both research that they have to do, teaching they have to do, and also service that they have to do. And all three of those come with challenges, and all three of those are really exciting to work on. The research that I do is very collaborative, and so I interact with a lot of undergraduates, a lot of graduate students, postdocs, and also a lot of professors, and just seeing the dynamic and trying to create an environment that has a good dynamic where people are all cordial with each other, but also able to really challenge each other in a healthy way. I feel like that's really rewarding. And then seeing especially how graduate students then come in and maybe not know exactly what's going on. And then, once they've been here for a few years, really started to then take on undergraduates and mentoring them and really seeing them grow. So that's really nice. I also try to create some of that in my classrooms, especially my smaller classrooms, where I do try to have one-on-one time with each one of my undergraduates in class to really understand, what they're passionate about. And then that makes it a bit easier for me to understand, the assignments that they turn in, or the projects or the coding assignments, and how they're progressing through that. As long as I sort of have a little bit of a mentor relationship with my class too, I really enjoy that.
Awesome. And what classes are you currently teaching or have taught in the last few years?
Yeah, so I teach ecology, principles of ecology, every year, typically just one time every year. And then I also teach a global change science analytics in our class, where I merge teaching students how to code in R. This is a stats and data science coding language that a lot of different industries and also scientists use, especially ecologists and biologists use it a lot. And I merge that coding with talking about major global problems like biodiversity loss, extinction, invasive species, pandemics like what's going on now, poverty, inequality, and all these different sort of global change problems that interact together, but also have tons of data associated with it. So then you can analyze those data in the class and develop your own project on something that you're passionate about.
Awesome. And what kind of research are you working on?
I do research in several different fields. Right now, a huge amount of my time is taken up with invasive species. And so we have a handful of grants, Dr. Bem, Dr. Seibold in the math department, and I, along with others at Penn State and other places. We have a few different grants that allow us to do research on spotted lanternfly. We're trying to do a lot of modeling of spotted lanternfly, trying to predict where it's going to spread to next.
Cool. I'm going to pause there for a second and have a special guest or two ask you a question. So just give me a second. Go. Okay, this is my daughter, Theodora. Can you say hi?
Hi.
That's Dr. Matt. Can you ask me a question? You have a question about spotted lanternflies?
Yes. Are spotted lanternflies alive in the winter?
They are alive in the winter, but they're alive as eggs. And so all the big spotted lanternfly, all the mama spotted lanternfly that you see, flying around everywhere, well, they start to lay eggs, and then it's those eggs, and they are alive, and they are what overwinters. So you can go and look on trees, you can look around, and you can see those egg cases everywhere.
Say thank you.
Thank you. My name is Declan.
What's your question, Declan?
About lamp.
You forget? Go ahead.
My name is Owen, and my question is, why do spotted lanternflies die in the winter?
Yeah, that's a great question, Owen. So spotted lanternflies die in the winter for two reasons. One, it starts to get cold and they don't like it when it gets cold. But another big reason is that the trees stop producing food for them. So all the plants, during the winter, they lose their leaves. Well, when they lose their leaves, they stop producing sap. And so lanternfly eats sap, and so there's no food for the lanternfly, and so then they die.
You say.
Thank you for answering my question.
All right, go ahead.
My name is Declan, and what is the best way to kill a spotted lanternfly?
There's lots of different ways to kill a spotted lanternfly. Probably the most efficient way to kill a spotted lanternfly is to scrape the egg cases. And you can watch online and find videos of how to actually scrape egg cases, but by scraping just one egg case, you're killing almost 100 sometimes lanternfly. And so that's a lot faster than going around and trying to step on them. If you just go out and anytime you see an egg case, you scrape it into a bag, squish it, maybe put a little bit of alcohol in there and squish it up. And that's the best way to kill a lanternfly.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So I just wanted, this has been pretty thorough from the get-go. You've told me a lot about all the different things you're interested in. So what would you say is your main fault?
I think my main fault is that I get excited to learn about a lot of different things. And it sometimes is difficult then to focus on just one thing to completion. I think that's the fault of a lot of different people, especially in this day and age when there's just so much information out there, so many things out there to actually look at and to drag your attention away. There are lots of different ways of looking at nature. But the key really is to be able to set yourself up so that when you do get interested in something, you follow it through to the end, because it's really not until you follow it through to the end that you actually are contributing to scientific knowledge, that you are contributing to society, that you are really contributing to your life.
Well, thanks so much. I'm going to do something we like to close up with called the rapid fire response. I'm going to give you 2 words and you just state your preference. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Morning or night?
Morning.
Dark or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Offense or defense?
Offense.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Bert or Ernie?
Ernie.
Half full or half empty?
Half empty.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Chicago or Wisconsin?
Chicago.
China or Amsterdam?
Amsterdam.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show today. Greatly appreciate it.
Great. Thanks a lot, Tom. Great talking with you.
All right, just give me 1 second. Declan wrote that song, so.
Yeah.